Welcome to Overtime Stories. If you're new here, take a moment to subscribe and join the journey. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and every bit of support truly means a lot.
The moment Tom Brady spoke, the entire Browns situation shifted overnight. This wasn't a hot take from a talking head or noise from social media trolls. This was Tom Brady, the standard, the blueprint, the voice quarterbacks listen to even after retirement. As sources claim, Brady privately and publicly made it clear that how Shedeur Sanders was being handled raised serious red flags, and that message landed hard inside the Browns building. The warning wasn't loud or disrespectful, but it was sharp. Brady reportedly emphasized that young quarterbacks don't fail first, environments do. That line alone flipped the national conversation. Suddenly, the focus moved away from Shedeur's stat lines and toward Kevin Stefanski's decision-making. Browns players reportedly watched the clip repeatedly in the locker room, nodding, exchanging looks, and feeling something they hadn't felt in weeks: validation. When Brady speaks, people listen, especially players who know he's lived through bad coaching, great coaching, and everything in between. As sources claim, Brady highlighted moments where Shedeur showed toughness, composure, and leadership, but wasn't rewarded with consistent protection or clear offensive identity. That critique wasn't emotional, it was technical. That's what made it dangerous. Brady didn't accuse anyone directly, but the implication was loud. Mishandling a quarterback this early can derail a career. The timing couldn't have been worse for Stefanski.
Sorry to interrupt, but hit that subscribe button real quick. It really helps the channel grow.
Already under fire from analysts and insiders, Brady's comments added credibility to concerns that were previously dismissed as overreaction. The narrative cracked wide open. Once the greatest quarterback of all time implies something is off, excuses stop working. The ripple effect inside the Browns' locker room was immediate and undeniable. As sources claim, several players openly discussed Brady's comments during film sessions and downtime, not in a rebellious way, but in a relieved way. Someone finally said what they couldn't. Veterans reportedly felt the comments mirrored what they'd been seeing on the field: confusion, hesitation, and a lack of cohesion around the most important position. That's why Jeffrey Simmons' reaction mattered so much. Simmons reportedly called Shedeur the best after the sideline blow-up, signaling that players weren't questioning the quarterback. They were questioning the structure around him. That moment became symbolic. A sideline blow-up isn't always dysfunction. Sometimes it's passion boiling over when support feels inconsistent. Brady reportedly touched on that too, noting that competitive quarterbacks react when standards aren't met. That's leadership, not weakness. Analysts quickly picked up on the locker room response, pointing out that players rallying behind Shedeur changes the power dynamic fast. Coaches lose leverage when players stop believing in the process. Stefanski defenders tried to slow the narrative, suggesting there might be context missing, but that argument lost steam once Brady's comments circulated. Context doesn't erase patterns. Patterns were forming, and the locker room could feel it. National media scrambled to recalibrate after Brady's warning. As sources claim, several analysts who previously defended Stefanski softened their stance, shifting from certainty to caution. The phrase, "maybe there's more to it," started popping up, not as a defense, but as a pause. That pause matters. It signals doubt. Brady's comments reframed the situation as developmental malpractice instead of growing pains. That's a huge shift. Developmental issues are systemic. Systemic issues don't fix themselves. The warning also forced people to revisit tape with a new lens. Missed protections, late adjustments, conservative sequencing after successful drives, all of it looked worse under scrutiny. Brady reportedly emphasized that quarterbacks need clarity more than creativity early. That line stuck. Stefanski's offense, once praised for complexity, now looked cluttered. Clutter confuses young quarterbacks. Confusion leads to hesitation. Hesitation leads to hits. Hits lead to erosion. Brady's career was built on eliminating erosion. His warning carried that weight. Analysts began asking tougher questions. Why were adjustments slow? Why did messaging not match execution? Why did confidence appear conditional? These questions didn't exist at this volume before Brady spoke. Now they're everywhere. Inside the organization, the pressure reportedly escalated fast. As sources claim, leadership became acutely aware that Brady's involvement elevated the story beyond typical controversy. This wasn't just about Stefanski versus critics anymore. This was about legacy voices questioning developmental integrity. That's dangerous for any franchise. The Browns have spent decades trying to escape quarterback dysfunction narratives. Brady's comments threatened to pull them right back into it. Internal meetings reportedly focused on damage control, messaging alignment, and stabilizing confidence around Shedeur. That alone suggests concern. Teams confident in their direction don't scramble to reframe narratives. They let results speak. Results weren't loud enough. The locker room watching Brady's clip wasn't about rebellion. It was about reassurance. Players want to know the league sees what they see. Brady confirmed it. That confirmation tightens player loyalty to the quarterback and loosens patience with coaching inconsistencies. That's a dangerous imbalance. Stefanski's defenders pointed to previous success, but Brady's career reminds everyone that success yesterday doesn't guarantee trust today. Quarterback development is unforgiving. One wrong year can cost 5 good ones. Jeffrey Simmons' reaction added gasoline to the fire. As sources claim, Simmons' "the best" comment wasn't just praise. It was a statement of belief. Belief travels fast in locker rooms. When respected players publicly back a quarterback, it sends a message upstairs. Simmons didn't defend schemes or coaching. He defended the player. That distinction matters. Analysts noted that Simmons' comment aligned perfectly with Brady's warning. The talent is there. The issue is support. The sideline blow-up that sparked all this wasn't framed as immaturity anymore. It was framed as frustration from a competitor demanding clarity. Brady himself had sideline blow-ups early in his career. That parallel didn't go unnoticed. Fans picked up on it immediately. Suddenly, Shedeur wasn't the problem child. He was the frustrated leader. That flip is massive. Stefanski's margin for error shrank further. When players and legends align, coaching narratives shift fast. There is still room for doubt, but that room is getting smaller by the day. As sources claim, some analysts continue to argue that Stefanski deserves patience and context. That argument exists, but it's no longer dominant. Brady didn't call for firing or chaos. He issued a warning. Warnings matter more than accusations. They give organizations a chance to correct course. Whether Cleveland takes that chance is the real story now. The Browns are at a crossroads. Double down on structure and clarity, or risk losing trust entirely. Brady's involvement raised the stakes. Quarterbacks across the league noticed. Agents noticed. Executives noticed. The Browns can't afford to ignore that. Silence won't fix perception. Action might. That's the pressure hanging over the building right now. This moment may be remembered as the turning point in the Shedeur Sanders saga. Tom Brady didn't attack anyone. He illuminated something uncomfortable. That's worse for those under scrutiny. The locker room reaction, Simmons' comments, and shifting analyst tone all point to one truth. The quarterback isn't alone anymore. When the greatest to ever do it warns you, ignoring that warning is a gamble. Cleveland is staring at that gamble right now. The next moves will define careers, not just seasons. The league is watching closely. What makes this situation even heavier is how fast the balance of power inside the Browns organization appears to be shifting right now. As sources claim, once Tom Brady's warning went public and locker room support for Shedeur became obvious, internal conversations stopped being theoretical and started becoming strategic. This is the phase where franchises decide whether to protect systems or protect players. History shows which choice usually wins. Quarterbacks backed by teammates and validated by legends don't get quietly sidelined. They get insulated. That insulation has consequences for coaching authority. Insiders say Browns executives are now hyper-aware that any move perceived as undermining Shedeur will be met with resistance, not just from fans, but from inside the building. That's a big deal. When trust consolidates around a quarterback, leadership has to adapt or lose credibility. The sideline blow-up that once looked like a problem now looks like a warning flare that went ignored too long. Brady's comments reframed it as competitive frustration, not emotional instability. That reframing matters. It changes how every future interaction is interpreted. Coaches correcting Shedeur now have to be precise, measured, and consistent because the locker room is watching closely. As sources claim, players are no longer just evaluating game plans, they're evaluating tone, accountability, and honesty. Mixed messaging won't survive in this environment. Another quiet shift is happening externally. Rival teams, agents, and league insiders are now treating Cleveland as a case study. How the Browns respond will signal whether they've learned from past quarterback failures or are repeating the cycle. That pressure doesn't fade, it compounds. Brady's warning didn't demand action, but it created a deadline in perception. Every game without visible adjustment fuels speculation. Every press conference without clarity feeds doubt. The Browns are now operating in a window where inaction is interpreted as defiance, not patience. That's dangerous. The quarterback has momentum, the locker room has alignment. The public narrative has shifted. Leadership either leans into that reality or fights it. Fighting it rarely ends well. This chapter of the saga isn't about one quote or one blow-up anymore. It's about whether Cleveland finally chooses evolution over ego. The next stretch will tell the story. Like the video, subscribe for more deep dives, and stay locked in as this Browns drama continues to unfold with real consequences.